present my research report and also the metacognitive analysis. So for this I divided this presentation into two parts. The first part is with my research report. First one is to solve the context of this. I was in a school called Metacognitive, and we worked with an 8th grade. And something that caught my attention was the method of the teacher to explain or do the class, because I saw that he tended to use a grammatical explanation, but it's explicit grammatical explanation of the structures. So that caught my attention because then in the second part of the class he used the context to explain the grammar structures. So I started to wonder about what are the student perception of the English language in which they are in contact outside of the classroom. For this, I support this study that is novelty because it's exclusive in our context. I checked for this information on the internet and also here in the university. And I couldn't find any report or any study of this in our context. Also, I think that it's relevant because this information is very important for us as teachers to produce and create our classes. Also, with this we can create motivating materials in order to produce a meaningful learning. Also, I present this because it's feasible, because it's possible to describe, because are the perception of the students. For this, I started to design an instrument. The first step was to read the bibliography, and I found this book, that second language research of methodology and design by Metacognitive, and I found four aspects that qualitative research must have. There are qualitative research must be natural, analytic representations, have to rich description, have to be with fair participants, and also dynamic perspective. For this, I also checked the information that I found of Fernando Bautista that suggests to use a semi-structured interview in order to gather the student perception of the English outside the classroom. So after designing this instrument, this semi-structured interview, I present this for a post evaluation of this. For this, I asked to three professors, Professor Daniel, Professor De Varela, and teacher Matia Villarreal, to analyze and evaluate my instrument. I gave it to them also a Likert scale in order to analyze all the questions by giving them a score based on the appropriateness and the coherence of each question. For this, they have to give a score for each question that is from 0 to 4, from completely disagree to completely agree. After gathering this information, after gathering this feedback, I proceeded to edit my instrument and eliminate some questions that are not relevant for the study, and also paraphrase some other questions. Then I start to apply my instrument. But before that, I use another data information, that is the observation records that I did with 35 students, the teacher. And something important to mention about this is that I didn't interfere during the data during the observation. I was behind the class and only was writing the observation, in order to don't interfere also with the analysis of this information and my study. Also, I designed a student profile. This was with the help of my tutor, the head teacher, and he helped me to write a student profile of each of the participants for the interview, with the idea of gather the main information of them. Then I proceeded to apply my interview with these students. From the interview, I got a lot of information about them. Then I started to analyze this. For this, I decided to categorize this information, this discourse, categorize these observational records and also categorize the information gathered from the interview. I base my categorization analysis on Gomez, that he proposed that categorizes a general concept that gathering elements or aspects from a common characteristics which are related between them. In simple words, the idea effort was to take a big concept and little and put it in simple words or codes in order to analyze them, in order to use these codes and analyze with a conclusion, give a conclusion. This is a sample of my matrix that I designed, also I used in the university. It was based on Hernando Fernando Baptista and also Rodriguez, that is so used to give a big concept that this is the category or the unit, then the source, then I assign them a subcategory and then give it a code in order to manage these codes and triangulate the information. From this analysis, from this observation, from these interviews, I gathered the next information, that is the patterns that I found, which are the participation and the use of the language outside of the classroom for the observations. And for the interviews, I found the students use this English, they perceive this English to communicate, to watch TV programs, video games, listen to music. Also, they have an opinion about the English outside of the classroom. Then I also find that how it is presented outside the classroom and how is this present influencing them. Also, the limitation and the benefits of using this language outside of the classroom. Then, to analyze this information and triangulate the information, I use the student profile, the observations, and also the interview, and I group them into groups that are here. Here are the codes that I use for each subcategory. I give them an emerging categories also, and then after they could keep conclusion about what I could observe in these groups. Finally, I could find the next. The students are in touch with the presence of the English outside of the classroom. This presence is strong because they can see in movies, in TV shows, music, social networks, and video games. They are aware of this presence. Also, thanks to this, they can learn new words and also the pronunciation of these words. This language is important for them because they say during all the interviews that this is for communicating with others, so they can be communicating with other people around the world. Also, it's a benefit for us as a teacher or future professor that because taking in mind what Brown says in the book of Principles for Teaching Language is that it's necessary to connect the context with the content in order to produce meaningful learning. It's also a principle for teaching the 4 skills in the students. So this is the part 1 of my also limitation, sorry. So yes, I can find this limitation was very clear because this perception was based only in 4 students. This study can be applied to a general view of the perception of the English because it's a limited context. Also, the application of analysis was, I would say, with 4 students. In the beginning, it was with 10, but I had some technical issues with the data and I couldn't analyze all of them. So I only analyzed 4 students. There's perception of 4 students. Now, this is the part 2, the metacognitive analysis. For this, I had to analyze or study a skill that's oral comprehension. The learning objective is 803. That is demonstrate the comprehension of oral text by identifying main ideas and explicit information related with the characters, object, place, and dates. This is for a 4th grade. So also I had to present the vocabulary and expression for future routines, and also identify and help them with the English sounds that couldn't interfere in the comprehension, such This is for the unit 1, and the unit is how do you feel? First of all, I want to start with my weaknesses. Why the weaknesses? Because I don't have experience with the 4th grade. This is very important for me because I only work with the 1st grade and with an 8th grade. So I don't have the experience to analyze this information. I don't have the experience to understand this situation. But I can base this metacognitive analysis on the theory and what I learned during the teaching course. So thanks to this, I could find these limitations that are not concrete. I mean, I can give concrete explanations. I can be concrete with the context. I tend to analyze the context. I tend to don't give concrete explanation of or instruction for an activity. So that's a big problem with me. Also, I was mentioning here, based on many years, that the instruction must be brief. I said before, I give long explanation for an activity, and this can affect the students or what they have to do. Also, how you can notice, I have problem with my pronunciation. So this can affect in the process of learning a new word, a process of learning a new vocabulary, or the context. Nevertheless, I have something new, that is my strength. And for this, I also based my strength in the Piaget. He mentioned that the students are in the concrete operation stage from 7 to 12 years old. It's concrete, but in this age, also the students are able to produce their opinions. So how I said before, I tend to analyze more the things. So I can help them to develop their opinion, or help them in this first process of developing an opinion. So I can help them in a way. Also, I find the idea to use TPR for my classes. I use a lot of TPR, so I tend to use it a lot, and I could know a lot of improvement in the student who use TPR also. And finally, meaningful learning. Why? Because I have said before in the next study, in the previous study, that content is very important for the students. So I tend to connect my class with the content of the students by using Facebook, social network, trying to connect them and produce meaningful learning, a language that they can use outside of the classroom. Challenge. The first one is giving instruction. I have a big problem with that. So it's a challenge for me to give short and brief explanation for activities. Also, a challenge for me is to identify and acquire the correct pronunciation before to teach something. Another is that the teacher talking time versus the student talking time. How I see it during this semester in the teaching course is very important to highlight and produce the student talking time. So this is a challenge for me because I tend to talk a lot during the classroom and the students don't produce. And finally, the purpose. Something that I learned during this year was the purpose of the students is more important than the purpose that for me to teach. I mean, how to connect with them and how to put them for my interest. So these are the references.
Thank you, Andrés. Exactly 15 minutes.
Really?
So now we're going to start with the questions.
Yeah, let's just see this.
And you.